Welcome back to the top 32 of the 2015 North American World Championship Qualifier. In our top 32 feature match, we have Marcus Hayden with his Burning Abyss deck, dueling against Ping-Yi Zhang and his Shaddolls. I'm Michael Kohanam. I'm here with Jerome McHale, and we will be commentating this match. It looks like they've already begun, and Hayden has summoned the Mathematician in a rather unconventional use of the card. We frequently see the Mathematician used in Shaddoll decks, but Hayden has actually included it in his Burning Abyss deck to send a Burning Abyss monster to his graveyard and activate its effect. He has sent Skarm to the graveyard so that he can add a new Burning Abyss to his hand in the end phase.
Or Tour Guide.
Yes.
Good Tour Guide.
Any level 3 feat.
It's looking like he's going to get Graph, though. Tricky thing here is you can't special summon your Burning Abyss cards if you have spell and trap cards face down. So he's going to be stuck normal summoning it.
Yes, it's interesting also because your Burning Abyss monsters will destroy themselves with their effects if you have the Mathematician face up on the field, which is probably a reason that Mathematician is not commonly used in Burning Abyss decks.
Yeah, when it first started and there weren't just a ton of Burning Abyss monsters, people used a lot of Mathematician, and it's fallen out of favor since.
However, here, Hayden is using 20 trap cards in his deck, so he might be resigned to the fact that there will be times where he's unable to special summon his Burning Abyss monsters, may be willing to rely on other methods of winning.
Zhang passes his turn. He started off with both of his fusion spells. However, he doesn't have any Shaddolls to use them with. Double Effect Veiler, 2 fusions, Blackluster Soldier, Envoy at the beginning. None of those cards are actually playable. Oh, and Darkhold. But he doesn't want to get rid of the Mathematician because that would open the gates for all the Burning Abyss monsters to flood right out.
Gates to the Burning Abyss. Looks like he summoned Graph, which destroyed itself, so he could summon Libic, which destroyed itself, so he could special summon Skarm from his hand with its effect negated. Direct attacks from his 2 monsters connected, dealing damage to Zhang. And in his second main phase, he is combining both monsters to seize summon Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, in defense mode. He might not know that Zhang is playing a Shaddoll deck.
Yeah, leaving Dante out is one of the reasons why people often say that Shaddolls is one of the best decks to play against Burning Abyss, because they leave so many extra deck monsters on the field.
Yes, and as long as there's an extra deck monster on the field, a Shaddoll duelist can activate Shaddoll Fusion and fuse the monsters from their deck to summon a fusion monster from their extra deck.
Now that said, we do see that Hayden has Vanity's Emptiness, which can be used to put a stop to all of those shenanigans immediately.
Okay, so he's in good shape regardless. And even knowing that his opponent is playing, even if he did know that his opponent is using a Shaddoll deck, he might have made the same play because he has that Vanity's Emptiness.
Dante's effect goes off, and in main phase 2, it's changed into a Downward Magician. And in the end, Hayden goes ahead and searches for Sphere, Malwrench of the Burning Abyss. And he feels pretty confident with Downward Magician, with Dante underneath it, and 4 face-down cards.
But who knows what Zhang has? He hasn't even played a card yet.
Well, he's got 2 mass removal cards. He's got the Shaddoll Fusion. And it's going to be met with Vanity's Emptiness, and that was basically the only playable card in Zhang's hand other than mass removal. Yeah. Destroying Downward Magician will actually just unlock all of Hayden's summons.
Yeah, with the Downward Magician off of the field, and then Dante's effect activating to bring a Burning Abyss card back to his hand, he might be in for a couple of attacks from Hayden's Burning Abyss monsters, or some Xyz monsters.
Downward Magician is destroyed. That's going to send Mathematician to the graveyard as well as Dante, and Dante will add Skarm back to the hand. Play is back to Hayden, who looks like he's just picked up Solemn Warning.
That's what it appears to be. That's a great draw here.
Normal Summon Seer and attack. 16 more damage on Ping-Yi Zhang, and he still hasn't seen a single Shaddoll monster. And he still hasn't seen a single Shaddoll monster.
That's not one either.
But
is that Sinister Shadow Games?
Yeah, if it's Sinister Shadow Games, it could be good enough. Because you can set that and the El Shaddoll fusion and make plays on your opponent's turn.
So you're thinking here that he might send a Shaddoll Hedgehog to the graveyard?
I think he might go for the Squamata Falco play.
Ah.
Sets an effect failure, though, interesting enough. And in the end phase, Raigeki Break is activated, targeting that face-down monster, destroying the effect failure and sending Skarm to the graveyard. That means that Hayden is going to go ahead and get a Burning Abyss search, or just a Fiend search. He goes to get Graph. Hayden now in a commanding position with full control of the field and full life points. While Zhang has basically not been able to do anything other than try to block an attack or two with effect failure, and even that didn't work. Graph is normal summoned for Hayden. And the two monsters, instead of attacking, are immediately combined. Looks like he's going to go for the big Dante.
Looks like he'll get more damage in this way, since he'll be able to use that Surge effect to special summon another Burning Abyss monster to his field from his graveyard.
Let's see what is the biggest Burning Abyss monster he could summon there. So I was thinking maybe you would detach the Graph and get one out of your deck and maybe get like a Barber. Something big to just try to finish things off right away. But Hayden is taking a more measured approach. He goes and gets Skarm to make sure that he can keep the flow of monsters to his hand going.
Certainly a reasonable play.
Sinister Shadow Games is activated. Resolved successfully, and Zhang takes a look. Doesn't find what he wants in the top half of the deck. Goes for the rest of it.
So he's taking the Hedgehog. The advantage of this over the, sending Squamata and Falco immediately is that if he activates the El Shaddoll fusion here, he'll be able to use the effect of the Shaddoll monster that he sends to the grave. Whereas if he had sent a Falco to the grave and special summoned it, if he fused it with El Shaddoll fusion, he wouldn't be able to special summon back to the field, since it would have already used its effect this turn.
El Shaddoll fusion is flipped, and Hayden has the Solemn Warning for it. That'll cost him 2,000. So it breaks up the perfect game, dropping him down to 6,000. But he's still in a commanding position, and he can tack on another 3,300 or so.
Yeah. Zhang's in trouble.
Both of his fusion spells have been negated. Both of the attacks have been successful. And Zhang is down to his last 800 points. Luckily for him, this is not a deck that can play Gaga Cowboy. Unlucky for him, this is a deck that can play Barber.
Yeah. Wow, summoning Barber wins him the game. Let's see how many he plays. He plays one copy.
Just one, but Skarm just went to the graveyard, and he was able to search it out.
Yeah, no surprise to us. That's what he's searching for.
And I'm not entirely certain what Zhang can do here. He's got a Dark and a Light now for his Black Luster Soldier. That's why the effect failure was set earlier.
Okay, so...
But he's got a Phoenix Wing Wind Blast to discard it during the draw phase. And Zhang just doesn't get a chance to do much of anything. He had the Shaddoll fusion to answer Dante, but Vanity's Emptiness answered that right back. Right. And by the time he drew into a Shaddoll monster to use, well, got the Sinister Shadow Games to get the Shaddoll monster to use with his El Shaddoll fusion, Solemn Warning had already been drawn to stop it. Hayden's got all the traps and all the monsters to break through.
There was really not much that Zhang could do there, unfortunately for him. The good news for him is he gets to choose who goes first in the second duel. What might we see him put in from his side deck?
Ooh, Zhang?
He has 3 copies of Maxi, 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, 2 Fire Hand, 2 Ice Hand, a Solemn Warning of his own, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device, 1 Shaddoll Dragon, 1 Mind Control, and 1 Twister.
1 Twister. I could see Maxi coming in. Oftentimes, the really powerful double Dante plays that you often see. Maxi can draw you a significant number of cards if you're trying to combat those plays.
Yeah, Maxi seems very good here. Mystical Space Typhoon seems pretty good against a deck with 20 trap cards.
Yeah, I think you might see Mystical Space Typhoon trying to make some precision hits on some of the face-down cards.
Solemn Warning, probably not.
Warning, no. Not really. It's not great against. The only thing it's really great against is Tour Guide, or in this deck, Mathematician as well.
One of in the deck.
Using it against a Dante will still trigger its effect.
Exactly. Compulsory Evacuation Device, on the other hand, can be used against Dante.
Could be useful. You got to hit the Dante itself before it can be upgraded into downward position.
Right. So that might be an approach he takes.
Mind Crush actually is pretty decent. If your opponent activates the Burning Abyss effect to summon it from its hand.
I think it says Mind Control.
Oh, Mind Control?
Yeah,
yes.
He has Mind Crush.
Yeah, Mind Control, not Mind Crush. If there was Mind Crush, it could be useful in that situation. You've already activated an effect of that Burning Abyss monster, so being forced to discard it will not activate its effect in that case.
So yeah, had that been in his side deck, he might have considered including it.
Grab-wise, Mistake, the way that Hayden was playing his deck, Mistake would actually be pretty useful here. He kept cycling Scarm over and over and over again to basically draw 2 cards a turn, or draw 1 card during his own turn and search another card during his opponent's turn, and so on and so forth. So Mistake, keeping that in could be useful here.
Zhang has 3 copies of Mistake in his main deck, but Hayden also has 2 copies of Mistake in his main deck, so it'll actually be interesting if we can see what they each decide to do with Mistake.
Yeah, I think Hayden's going to take it out. But Zhang might keep it in.
Probably, yeah. Although, Shaddoll decks do also search with Headshot.
It'd be a lot easier to keep it in if you saw any Star Seraphs in the first game.
Oh, yeah.
But there aren't any.
Yeah.
Zhang, having lost the first duel, gets to choose who goes first this time around. Or has already chosen who goes first this time around. And he says it's Hayden. Special summons Scarm, normal summons Graph.
Is that, it doesn't look like Scarm, right? Is that Farfa?
Looked like Scarm to me.
Maybe it was. There's a Scarm.
And he hits another Scarm, which you don't super want. The reason that you only send 1 card to the graveyard in this particular case is exactly that sort of thing. You don't want to hit the same card that you've already used the effect of. So it gets a little unlucky there, but still gets his Graph effect and allows him to summon Seer. 3 cards face down, join it.
And he uses a Scarm's effect, so that's not a Scarm under the Dante.
I suppose it's not. What is that then?
Looked like a Farfa, maybe.
Is it Farfa?
I think we'll find out when it activates its effect.
Yeah, it looked like it actually had attack points to me, which is why I was wondering about it. Oh, yeah, it does. 1,000. Oh, yes, it is Farfa. Okay.
Tough to see. The color scheme for a lot of the Burning Abyss monsters is similar.
Yeah, once you start getting the wings and things, it's a little difficult to tell some of them apart.
The new Astral Pack Scarm is much easier to differentiate since it's foil.
Zhang has the Shaddoll Fusion again, and this time it is Solemn Warning. Now that negates the activation. It's considered as though he never played a Shaddoll Fusion.
Right, so if he had another one, he could activate it.
Got Shaddoll Fusion and El Shaddoll Fusion in the starting hand once again. Pretty good. And this time he also has Shaddoll monsters to use it with.
Yeah, this hand's a lot better. But is it good enough? It's really unfortunate for him that his strongest card, the Shaddoll Fusion, was negated.
Just thinking about what exactly he wants to use as material. It's also interesting. He's got the Max C and he didn't use it earlier on. Perhaps he thinks he can get more cards out of it later on.
Did he have the Max C in his opening hand, or did he draw it as a 6th card?
No, he had it in the opening. And he sends his Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning to the graveyard.
He hasn't. Let's see.
From an El Shaddoll Construct.
That's interesting. I guess he has no light monsters in his hand other than that. So he had no real prospect for being able to summon that Blackluster Envoy.
Oh, this is pretty good. So he's got Squamata and the effect of Shaddoll Construct. By sending Core to the graveyard, he can get back a Speller Trap. And he can get back that Shaddoll Fusion. Since the rules consider him to have never played it because its activation was negated, he can get it back and then play it at full power.
That's a fantastic play. That Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning was definitely worth giving up to be able to summon that construct and send Squamata to the grave. Because by sending the Shaddoll Core to the grave with its effect, he is now able to bring back the Shaddoll Fusion.
And he's also able to get rid of another face-down card thanks to Shaddoll Dragon as well.
Oh, actually, how did the dragon get there?
So there was a construct effect and a Squamata effect. One of them sent core,
right.
The other sent dragon. Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss is chained. That's a good one to have.
That's also interesting. Now he must fuse the 2 cards in his hand with Shaddoll Fusion.
It depends on when exactly this happened. It's looking based on where the Shaddoll Fusion was placed, like it was played in response to the effect that was targeting Shaddoll Fusion. So he wanted to get his own monsters off the field beforehand.
He was targeting the Burning Lake.
Right.
Is that correct? Okay. So yes, so he couldn't save it for the Shaddoll Fusion to be activated. And yes, that is correct.
Sets 1 card face down after having gotten back the Shaddoll Fusion, it looks like. So we'll be able to play that if he so desires. Battle Beast Fusion and Max C are in the hand. That's good for a Shekinaga.
Yeah.
Which you haven't seen yet this weekend.
Yeah, but that's far from ideal to summon when that's all that's in your hand, because Shekinaga takes advantage of the Shaddoll cards in your hand to negate the effects of special summoned monsters.
He could use the Shaddoll Fusion. Doesn't have to be a Shaddoll monster.
Well, he would have to activate the Shaddoll Fusion to even summon that monster.
He's got
right.
He's got El Shaddoll back. No, he doesn't have El Shaddoll back. What did he get
Yeah.
back? Oh,
He
it's
got the
core. He took the core off of constructs.
Well, he sent the core.
Yeah, it all works out.
He sent the core to the graveyard.
It's a series of consecutive chains that keep
Okay.
starting off of different things resolving. The end result is that a Shaddoll Core is blocking the path to Zhang's life points.
How do you get the core and the fusion back?
He got the regular Shaddoll Fusion back off of Core,
Right.
and then after Construct was destroyed, Construct got the Shaddoll Fusion
Oh,
back.
right. Construct's effect for when it's destroyed, of course. Okay.
Foolish Barrel is activated over on Hayden's side. And he sends Farfa. That's definitely Farfa.
Yes.
Banishes the trap monster.
That's weird. So was it going to return to the field face down or as a face-up trap card?
I think it returns to the field and immediately goes to the graveyard.
Yeah? I have never seen this before.
It's not something that happens particularly often. But I believe that's how it would work. Because there's nothing that's going to turn that trap card into a monster when it returns. It's banished as a trap. It might not even come back. I will look into this.
Well, it's certainly banished for now.
It's not like it's a little bit. I know, but when it's a monster on the field, the trap card zone.
Fascinating.
Where that monster still can. I know. And when it leaves the field, that
I know.
trap card zone.
I know exactly what I knew what you were thinking when it came up, and I've had it come up before. And
So it is special. Here's the text of Shaddoll Core. You special summon this card as an effect monster. It's a spellcaster, dark, level 9, 1450 attack, 1950 defense. The card is also still a trap card. It's summoned this way, you can substitute this monster for one diffusion material that lists an attribute on a Shaddoll fusion monster card. This card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect. You can target one Shaddoll spell trap card in your graveyard, except Shaddoll Core. Add it to your hand. How interesting. It's banished, and after it's banished, it's a trap. And if you try to return a trap to the field somewhere that it can't exist, it goes to the graveyard.
Okay, so I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask just to cover all bases. It's not then sent to the graveyard by a card effect, is it?
Nope.
All right. So yeah, that's a total loss of the core. Farfa rarely does that.
No, that's pretty good for Farfa.
Yeah. He's really overreaching here.
Overachieving.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to do if you want to make it to the World Championship.
Maybe he'll finally earn himself a place outside of the Burning Abyss.
And it looks like we are going to get, I think it's highly likely that clarification is going to be requested from the head judge on this. So we'll see if he comes up with the same answer that we did.
Look, guys. So you have an appeal.
All right, and you can see him now. Here comes Mr. Joe Franchino, our head judge for the World Championship Qualifier. He's assessing the situation right now. They're replaying it for him, basically. He says, okay, I played Foolish Burial, sent Farfa, targeted Shaddoll while it was a monster. And Joe's looking on his face like, I always wished this would happen. Just not right now.
That sounds like Joe.
Yes. Joe actually, he plays a lot.
Yes.
In his spare time, and he builds all sorts of fun different decks.
Yes. This is the type of question that he can really appreciate, where all facts are known. There's no dispute what happened.
Yep.
It is a simple but difficult ruling question.
Pure pursuit of knowledge question.
Exactly.
It's not special summoning the monster back, it's just replacing it back to where it was.
I understand, but I just didn't think it was considered a monster.
It's a monster on the field as part of this is banished into the end phase. So the extension, please start with that.
And it seems that they came up with the opposite answer. That it is banished as a monster and then it comes back as a monster.
Yeah, no.
That will... We're trying to get further clarification on that when we get back in the office.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough one.
I could definitely see it going either way. But it looks like the way they're going to go for it here is Shaddoll returns to the field as a monster. I guess that would mean it also takes up a spell and trap card zone while it's at it.
Yeah. I guess it would have to.
Breaking new territory at the 2015 North American World Championship Qualifier. Shaddoll Fusion is activated by Zhang. He's got a freebie card, basically. Shaddoll Core can be substituted for any attribute, and he uses it along with Beast to summon another construct. The interesting thing here is that the way it works, he can just keep getting that Shaddoll Fusion back if he wants. It's El Shaddoll Fusion, as he has not played that one yet this turn. Sends Hedgehog to the graveyard. He'll take his draw from Beast, and then he'll search for Hedgehog. Falco is his choice here. Hasn't used a Falco yet in this entire match.
Yeah.
All right, Falco's in hand. It looks like Zhang is checking which monsters have been special summoned and which monsters were normal summoned. Because Construct automatically destroys any special summon monster at battle, you can't actually deal any damage through a special summon monster, so it's important to check which is which.
Right. So this is special. This is normal.
Takes a long look at the Mystical Space Typhoon that's now in his hand. He's thinking about just using it right away on that other card. Though, if there were to be a second Fire Lake at the Burning Abyss, it could be disastrous. And we are in the second duel, so the second Fire Lake at the Burning Abyss may have been sided in.
Right, so he just attacks the Seer. Was that Seer special summoned? Or is that one of the normal summoned monsters that he can damage over?
Honestly, I lost track
Yeah.
during the peel there on the Shaddoll Core. Looks like it was the normal summon one, as Hayden has taken damage, 1200.
All right, so he's going to activate its effect and special summon Scarm from his graveyard in defense mode.
That one's definitely Scarm. Clearly only 3 digits in the attack points.
Yeah.
Mystical Space
Now
Typhoon
he activates
activated next.
Why?
Ooh, and Fiend Griefing is activated. That targets, I believe, monsters only.
Yes. And I understand that Fiend Griefing can't send a card from your deck to your graveyard unless there's a monster to target.
You can't activate it if you don't have
Right.
a monster to target.
Right. So,
Goes ahead and activates
yeah.
it.
So the risk you run with that card is a very powerful card, but against Clifford decks that don't always have a monster in the graveyard, sometimes it can be difficult to activate and use its effect.
That's one deck out of all of them, though, and you generally have
it's
a really good matchup against them in the first place.
It's an incredibly powerful card, and that is why Hayden is using 3 copies of it in his main deck. But that is the one drawback.
And is that another? Yeah, it's a Scarm to the graveyard. So he summoned back a Scarm, and he sent the Scarm.
No reason not to, because he doesn't anticipate sending. Well,
El Shaddoll
no,
Fusion is activated.
Yeah, that's actually kind of odd. He activated the MST on his own turn. He sent a Scarm. Hayden sent a Scarm to the graveyard, and now I expect Zhang will be able to destroy the second Scarm, so he's only going to get 1 effect.
My question is, are we in the battle phase still? That's going to determine whether or not he can get rid of that Scarm.
That's a good question, actually.
Shaddoll Falco, Construct are sent to the graveyard for El Shaddoll Fusion. Falco's effect activates, Construct's effect activates, targeting Shaddoll Core, and a new Construct is summoned that will also activate its effect to send a Shaddoll card to the graveyard.
Looks like they're still in their battle phase, because it wouldn't make sense for Zhang to enter main phase 2 and then play 2 quick play spell cards.
Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Does not mean it didn't happen. We have seen stranger things this weekend.
Shaddoll Fusion sent to the graveyard. Falco comes back. And Core is added back to the hand.
Yes, so they are
Yeah,
still in the
okay,
battle
it is in the
phase,
battle
so the
phase.
Construct is going to attack and destroy that Scarm. So 2 are sent to the graveyard this turn, but he only gets 1 of their effects. I guess Hayden couldn't really predict that Zhang would be able to summon a monster back to his field.
Grabs a Rubik Malabranch at the Burning Abyss. That's a 2100 defense tuner monster that you can only use for Burning Abyss monsters, of which there is currently only 1. Activates it, and Maxi is chained. He saved that for the whole game.
This is a great time to drop it, because now Hayden has committed his Rubik to the field. If he's going to want to tune his monsters together, as he is doing right now, Zhang gets to draw another card. Then if he wants to special summon a monster with Graph, Zhang will be able to draw a 3rd card with Maxi. If he chooses not to, I'm sure Zhang will be okay with that also. But it looks like he is going to special summon a monster from his deck.
Yeah, Hayden, I think he's just trying to get any sort of offense he can here. Basically the opposite of the first game happened, and all the cards fell in the right order for Zhang.
Yeah. And he very skillfully conserved those cards. For example, that Maxi. There were plenty of opportunities where he could have used it far less effectively than he currently is using it.
Virgil's effect activates targeting Construct
That's
and
cool.
chains both El Shaddoll Fusion and Shaddoll Core.
Yeah, so the way that works is he chains the El Shaddoll Fusion, then chains the Shaddoll Core. The Core special summons itself to the field first, then the El Shaddoll Fusion resolves, and he gets to choose 2 monsters to fuse together. He summons Shaiken Naga as a result of that, and when the Core is, the Construct is sent to the graveyard, he gets to bring the Core back. Did he bring the Core back, or what did he do?
He appears to be deciding. Majesty's Fiend, he tribute summon next. And Falco is destroyed.
He used the Core's effect to bring the Shaddoll fusion back. He used the Shaddoll Construct's effect to bring the Core back. So he got both. So that was really cool. But now we have a Majesty's Fiend on the field as a result of a Tribute Summon.
Well, the thing is, Shekinaga is just bigger. And Majesty's Fiend is stopping both players from using their monster effects.
Oh.
So Shekinaga can just attack the Virgil,
Yes.
not give Hayden a draw.
Okay, so yeah, Hayden is not in good shape here.
Right. And now it seems he's picked up enemies after this. Way too late for it to matter.
Raigeki would be a lot nicer.
And in the end
Yeah.
phase, it's Mystical Space Typhoon anyways.
Yeah, so Hayden is down to 1 card between his hand and field, while Zhang just keeps amassing more cards. He has 3 on his field. Looks like he has 4 in his hand. Looks like at least 4 in his hand.
Breakthrough skill is activated to negate the effect of Majesty's Fiend. Shaddoll Core is flipped. Shaddoll Fusion is played. That's Felis, Lightsworn Archer.
Yeah,
Haven't seen her all this weekend either.
yes, there's some interesting cards in Zhang's deck.
Summons yet another construct. It almost feels like he's played 4 or 5 of them in this game. Have
Yeah.
any been recycled?
I don't think so. I think this is just the 3rd one.
Shadow constructs do so much different stuff. It feels like there are 5 cards at once.
Yeah, that's true. They have a lot of effects.
And that'll about do it for this one. Between the construct, normal summon Shadow Squamata, and Shekinaga, Hayden has seen enough. And we're going to a 3rd duel here in the top 32. At this point, all the side decking that's going to be done probably has already been done in terms of changing things up for the matchup. So now it's down to, are there any cards that benefit me more going first or benefit me more going second, depending on how you think you're going to be forced to play here.
Yes. Doesn't look like there's too many cards in their side decks that are really impacted by who goes first.
Yeah, one of the things that it's good for Zhang is that he already has a naturally pretty good matchup here.
Yeah.
So there's not really a whole lot that he would need to side in.
I believe I previously heard that time of the round has run, but it looks like these duelists will have an extension
Yes.
as a result of that appeal. So I don't know how much time actually remains. That might also factor into their decision of which cards they want in their deck.
True. So if Hayden, for example, had another copy of Barber hiding in here, which he doesn't, but if he did, he might want that in there. He's also playing, he's playing 2 Acid Golem of Destruction, number 30. I thought for secondary it was 2 Nightmare Sharks. Only 1 Nightmare Shark, though.
About 2 Acid Golems. Seems like a lot.
Yeah, you don't really see more than 1, if
Yeah.
any.
I played Burning Abyss for a little while, and I rarely summoned Acid Golem. But I did summon him occasionally, but never wished I had 2.
Yeah, I often needed to use him in situations where, like, my opponent was playing Yang Xing, and they had an opening Jiaotu play to get a 3100 attack, spell immune Yahtzee on the field.
3100.
Yeah, if you use
Then how's
Swanny and, well, you have to get Giga Brilliant and Acid Golem
Ah.
to bump it over. That's why it's
Not
a
easy.
bad scene if that happens to you.
He's actually, oh yeah, he is using Giga Brilliant, so he can make that happen.
Yang starts things off with a set card to each zone. Hayden draws a 6 card. And we get to take a look at his hand. He's got Graph, Scarm, Fire Lake. Opponent has El Shaddoll Fusion, Soul Charge, Effect Veiler. We're not quite sure what's face down there yet. Special summon Scarm in defense. Vanity's Fiend. Max C and Mind Crush. Interesting. Graph is normal summon next.
Ooh. Turns the graph face down, and that forces the Scarm to destroy itself because it recognizes the face down monster as a non-burning abyss monster. Since the Scarm was special summoned, he can't use its effect to search his deck for another burning abyss monster, a fiend rather, and add it to his hand.
Book of Moon very powerful against this deck for exactly that reason. Still has a graph though.
He does still have a graph. Face down.
Zhang's got Sinister Shadow Games and Soul Charge, along with Shaddoll Fusion and Effect Failure. We don't quite know what his face-down monster is yet, though. Hayden picks up Solemn Warning. He's now seen that particular card all 3 duels.
Yeah. Good card to see.
Flip summons Graph and attacks. Graph has 1,500, and he's
There
attacking
is the
into
Tackle Crusader,
who I believe is pretty hefty defensively. I want to say 1,800.
Yes, Tackle Crusader has 1,500 attack points, 1,800 defense points.
And Hayden has to read it, and let's read it along with him. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can activate one of the following effects. Target a face-up monster your opponent controls, change that target to face-down defense position, or target a face-up spell or trap card your opponent controls, and return it to the hand and prevent your opponent from playing cards with that same name this turn.
So we were talking about this card earlier. It's a cool card because it gets around some of the other cards that otherwise stop burning abyss decks, including Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, which you can return to the hand temporarily. So you can use your Dark Monster effect, since Tackle Crusader is not a Dark Monster. It gets past Jin Lisa Rituals, a monster summoned by that, since you can turn that monster face down. We actually saw Tackle Crusader played several YCSs ago, back when Necros was first emerging, sort of as the answer to monster summoned by Jin, or as an answer.
In the end phase, Sinister Shadow Games is flipped, sending Shaddoll Hedgehog to the graveyard and adding Shaddoll Squamata to Zhang's hand. The Solemn Warning is set as well, it seems, and Zhang is up.
Yeah, it was like you took your fast turn.
Interesting. So,
Effect Failure is normal summoned.
yeah, it looks like he's going to make...
Synchro summon?
Yeah, he has...
Marmades.
Marmades.
Be very useful if its summon can be successful.
But Solemn
Solemn
Warning
Warning
will
blocks
just
it.
shut it down immediately.
Drops Hayden to 5,200. He's got to be careful because time in the round could be coming up at any time.
Yeah.
Hayden is hurrying up. He goes ahead and just sets a monster. And it looks like in the end phase we see a Shaddoll Fusion. Mind Crush is activated, and he's probably going to call the Squamata.
That's interesting. Now, does he get the effect of the Squamata?
He does, but his fusion's going to fail, and that is what Hayden was looking for.
So that's the most important part. Let's see. So the way the chain is going to resolve, Mind Crush will discard the Squamata, then Shaddoll Fusion will try to summon a monster, which it can't, since the only one he has left is Felice.
Correct.
Eliza Archer. Then in a new chain, the Squamata will send a Shaddoll Shaddoll card from his deck to his graveyard.
Correct.
And then he'll be able to activate that monster's effect, or the core's effect, if he so chooses. Probably won't be taking a core here. Well, yeah, probably not.
Takes Shaddoll Beast for a draw.
Seems like a good play.
Note that he's got Soul Charge in his hand.
That's cool.
He draws.
Soul Charge seems very powerful here.
Just got to be careful with how much you pay to it. Or how much you lose, rather, not a payment.
Yes. Well,
looks like he's going to summon 3.
He might be indicating he's activating that soul charge. Why not Armades?
Activates it, summoning 3. It's because Armades can't be. Its summon was negated.
Ah, that's
so
right.
It can't be brought back.
I forgot it was negated by Solemn Warning.
Max C is activated over on Hayden's side, and 3 monsters come back. But now Hayden has the lead, and Zhang skips a battle phase. That was kind of risky business.
It was, but I like his position now better than it was before he activated Soul Charge. Right? Otherwise, he'd have a clear field.
True. And he passes play back to Hayden, not willing to give him any more summons. Now Hayden's got that Max C. He's just drawn Foolish Burial. Flips Graph face up, activates Foolish Burial. And if he can get through this turn, knocking 1 or 2 monsters off of Zhang's field without using his normal summon, and then drop the Vanity's Fiend, then he's in business.
Yeah.
Seer is sent to the graveyard by Foolish Burial, bringing back, looks like Skarm. Fire Lake
Wow.
of the Burning Abyss is activated to clear everything out. Very
That's
interesting.
amazing, but Zhang does get to use the effects of his
Yes,
fallen Shaddoll monsters.
correct. So we're
Sit.
chaining everything up here.
Yeah.
Looks like the Squamata will be first, followed by the draw from Beast. Falco is the obvious choice here because it'll at least get onto the field and be able to block an attack.
We drew a card for the Beast.
And now we're getting Graph.
Then Tackle Crusader would try to resolve, but unsuccessfully.
Correct.
And now we have Graph, and was there also a Seer?
No, it's Skarm.
Oh, it's
Barber
Skarm.
is summoned.
Okay, so he summons Barbar, and then tributes it for Vanity's Fiend.
Does not use the ability of Barber.
No, he does not.
Goes ahead and gets Tour Guide from the Underworld. Now,
Does.
Vanity's Fiend is preventing all special summons here, so I'm guessing that's just insurance.
I mean, that seems like a good choice, because if the Vanity's Fiend goes down, he'll have Tour Guide from the Underworld to come back. If the Vanity's Fiend doesn't go down, he's pretty much won the duel, because Zhang's not going to be able to win if he can't destroy the Vanity's Fiend.
It's just going to take a while if Shang can keep drawing monsters to put them away.
That's true.
And the other thing is, Shadow Dragon is a card.
Right, but if the Shadow Dragon...
And so is Squamata.
Right, but if the Shadow Dragon does get set and does destroy the Fiend with its effect, he'll have the Tour Guide.
Shadow Hedgehog is flipped up and destroyed. That gets a Shadow Speller Trap card, and he gets Shadow Core since that's the one that is a monster. However, he can't special summon it.
Right.
So Zhang is still trying to draw to a way to get rid of that Vanity's Fiend. He's got Shadow Fusion, which he can't play, Fearless, which cannot be normal summoned, and Shadow Core, which can't be special summoned because of Vanity's Fiend.
Right. It looks like they're in turns now. Time of the round was called. There's a different end of time procedure in the top cut when it's single elimination.
Only 3 additional turns are played after time is called in this case. And Hayden has the lead because of the soul charge for 3.
And I believe this is actually Hayden's last turn, right? Was time called on his turn? It looked like it was called before Zhang drew a card.
Well, we'll see soon enough. The Fiend attacks. And Zhang is now just checking to see what the turn situation is. Looks like a Shaddoll. Not entirely certain what it was. I think that's Squamata.
Looks like a Squamata, definitely.
Isn't its effect happened then?
No, it's destroyed and oh, it has a the flip effect.
Got the flip effect. These are all flip effect monsters.
Oh, okay. I was like,
As Shaddoll, Squamata flip, target a monster face up on the field and destroy it, and he doesn't use it. Just didn't use it, and as a result, time is up for Zhang. He can't inflict any damage on his own turn, and Hayden is going to take the third game in overtime, giving him a 2-1 victory and putting him one step closer to representing North America at the World Championship in Kyoto, Japan. He's on to the round of 16.
That's right.
2 more wins, and he'll be in to the World Championship. We'll be back with the top 16 when all the rest of the matches have finished. But until then, please enjoy another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Stay tuned.